tonight, the policeman who thought he was above the law. Former Met officer David Carrick is found guilty of raping a former partner and abusing a 12-year-old girl. How a hidden note finally revealed the truth. Also ahead, as the ground freezes, emergency shelters are open for rough sleepers. Plus, after the Banksy smash and grab, the dealers saying London is not safe for art. And
it's so amazing, isn't it?
I know,
endless.
The size of it's really
X marks the spot for Sally's latest Hidden London. Good evening. As the police themselves said today, when David Carrick should have been protecting people from abuse, he was instead perpetrating it. The former Met officer raped and sexually assaulted a former partner and used his job to scare her into silence. But today's convictions also revealed Carrick's long history of hurting women and girls. It started decades earlier when he was a teenager, crimes that might have gone unpunished if it weren't for a long-hidden letter finally being unearthed. Helen Keenan has been following the story and has this report.
What is it you're searching for?
One of the UK's worst sex offenders. This is the moment the former Met police officer was arrested and later revealed to be a serial rapist. He's currently serving 36 life sentences. Today, he was back in the dock, accused of molesting a 12-year-old girl and raping a former partner.
Both victims came forward to report further offences against Carrick after he was convicted of 49 offences against 12 women in February 2023. His convictions today are further proof, if any were needed, of the threat that he poses to women as a violent and controlling sex offender.
The court heard how he has a long history of sexual violence, previously admitting to more than 70 instances over 17 years. But Carrick did not admit to the fresh allegations, claiming sex with the woman was consensual and the girl was a liar. But a long-hidden medical letter betrayed his denials. Carrick had written that the child was not crazy and that it was true, but that he had stopped about 4 months previously. The prosecution told jurors the cold reality of this case is the man in the dock, a Met police officer for decades, started his abuse when he was a teenager. When he was a serving officer, he was a serial rapist, a serial sex offender, and a coercer and controller of women. David Carrick's silence in court was described as deafening as he refused to give evidence during his trial. Today, dressed in a dark suit and green tie, his reaction to the verdicts was quite animated. He looked down, he shook his head, and at one point appeared to sigh in the dock as he was found guilty of all charges. Do you think there could be other victims of Carrick's out there?
I do believe there may be further victims. They may not have been wanted to come forward, they may have thought they wouldn't be believed, but I hope this case demonstrates that they would be believed and they can come forward and report those crimes.
David Carrick will be sentenced for his crimes at the Old Bailey tomorrow morning.
Helen, we've learnt a lot about Carrick's offences as a teenager and then as a police officer, but could there be more periods of time when he was abusing women?
Well, that is what we put to police after his trial concluded today, and the short answer to that is yes. They have said it was entirely possible that Carrick had been offending in that gap when his first sexual offence occurred as a teenager and the second when he was a police officer. And if they had known about that confession letter earlier, they could have changed the course of history, possibly. Now, the Crown Prosecution Service is now encouraging any more victims of Carrick's abuse to come forward to police and saying they will do everything possible to secure justice.
OK, Helen, thank you very much. Emergency homeless shelters will be opening tonight as snow and cold temperatures bring an early taste of winter. The severe weather plan is designed to kick in to help rough sleepers when temperatures fall to zero. Here's our political correspondent now, Simon Harris.
Sleeping on the streets of London is perilous enough in any weather. At the weekend, a young man in his 20s living in the camp on Euston Road died of a suspected heart attack. But extreme temperatures can also be a killer. Today, the Mayor activated London's emergency plan for the first time this winter. It's called SWEP.
SWEP stands for the Severe Weather Emergency Protocol, which is activated in the winter, but now in the summer as well. So in the winter, it's an emergency response to keep people alive and try and get them in away from the cold.
The protocol was last used during the summer's heatwave. Charities like the Connection at St Martin's opened sanctuaries offering cool spaces, showers and washing machines. But the SWEP alert from City Hall, calling on the boroughs and charities to open up shelters, is guidance, not compulsory. John, a long-time coordinator with a charity providing hot food to homeless people in North London, thinks the protocol needs teeth.
It needs to be made a legal obligation that whenever the temperature hits a temperature that will actually kill people on the streets, we need to have a law coming into place that everybody has the right to get housed who needs accommodated. We should have that all year round, but particularly whenever it's cold weather, particularly if it's very hot weather too.
The tents and shelters in Euston are sandwiched between the underpass and 3 lanes of traffic. It's one of a number of camps which have sprung up in central London. According to a recent head count by the homeless charity St Mungo's, there are more than 4,500 people sleeping rough in England. Almost half of those are in London, 400 in Westminster alone. Sadiq Khan's election manifesto promised to end rough sleeping by 2030. Simon Harris, ITV News, Westminster.
And of course, Sally will be here later in the programme with more on the cold snap. Now, the man accused of stabbing 10 people on a train heading to King's Cross has been charged with more offences from the day before. Anthony Williams allegedly attacked passengers and staff on an LNER train in Cambridgeshire on the 1st of November. He's now been charged with 2 more counts of attempted murder in Peterborough on Halloween, including that of a 14-year-old boy. The South London train guard, who had been in a critical condition following the attack on the train, was released from hospital at the weekend. Now, the boss of an art gallery where a Banksy print was stolen has told us of his fears for London as a place to showcase art. Girl with Balloon was taken in September from the gallery in Fitzrovia. A man from Beckton has been sentenced to 13 months in prison. But the gallery's owner and art experts say the problems remain. Here's Cafo Pater.
It was a simple crime aided by a stroke of luck and brute force. Larry Fraser, the Banksy burglar, waltzed into the Grove Gallery and out with a copy of The Girl with the Red Balloon.
Yeah, funnily enough, it was last year. It feels like yesterday. I remember it. Got a call first thing on a Monday morning. You're all set for a good week at work, and you understand that you've been broken into and Girl with Balloon has been stolen.
I mean, this chap, he literally walked in with a hammer, smashed your glass, walked out with one of London's most famous pieces of art. Other galleries might be looking at that and thinking, that could happen to me. Could that happen to them?
I think nowadays you have something of value and other people might want to take it.
Thanks to the handiwork of the Met's flying squad, the prince was found and returned in 4 days. Larry Fraser arrested and now serving prison time, but his theft has certainly left a mark on London's art scene.
It's worrying for museums and galleries to try and give the public maximum access or to be able to view pictures in an inviting way for purchase is very difficult to square with the highest levels of security.
For the owners of the Grove, their love for Banksy still holds strong, but is the feeling mutual?
What's your relationship now with Banksy after you lost one of his pieces?
Yeah, listen, it wasn't something that we intended to happen, as you can imagine. It did happen. We were fortunate enough to get it back, and as I said, I think hats off go to the Met Police in returning it back. Yeah, fingers crossed it never happens again.
The prince is now locked away under better security, away from prying eyes and sticky fingers. Kath Opata, ITV News.
Now, last year, nearly 160,000 domestic abuse crimes were reported around London. Across England and Wales, on average, a woman is killed by a partner or ex-partner every 5 days. As the charity Refuge says, the statistics are devastating, but behind every number is a real person, a mother, daughter, sister, friend. Well, one of those women is Hayley Elizabeth from Dartford. Hayley was murdered by her abusive partner in May 2023. Now, Hayley's best friend is running 50 miles over 16 days in her memory. Rio Chandler is here, along with Nikita Gandhi from the charity Refuge. Welcome to you both. Thank you so much for coming in. Rio, let's start with you and let's talk about Hayley first, because she was a really special friend of yours, wasn't she?
She was.
You were very close to her.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about her and give us an idea of the kind of power that she gives you when you do these challenges.
She was so full of life. She was there for everyone. She's the only person that could get you through some of those really hard times. I lost count of the amount of times where I would be like just doing nothing and she would call and she'd help me out. We'd always be on these weird and wonderful adventures together.
Okay, and now she's powering you through to do
yeah.
this, always with you, I guess.
Yes, I know she would be looking down on me now. I think she'd be in shock
more
than anything that I'm doing this, but I'm so incredibly proud to be doing this in her memory.
I think she'd be very proud of you. Nikita, so Rio is one of a number of people who are doing challenges over a 16-day period to raise awareness and raise money. What does it mean for your charity that people like Rio are doing this?
It just means so much, not just the money that they raise, which is so important to everything we do to support women and their children experiencing domestic abuse, but just raising awareness. At the moment, 1 in 4 women will experience domestic abuse in their lifetime. It's an awful statistic and we need to be talking about this more. We need to be gathering momentum. We need to be raising funds to support charities like Refuge. It's an epidemic at the moment and it's just incredible that we have supporters like Rio who do so much for us.
The numbers are horrifying. We said some of them at the beginning. Are your services under particular strain at the moment?
Yeah, like all charities, Refuge is under a lot of strain. On average, every year, 50,000 kind of women reach out to us, need our support. That's through calls to our helpline. The demand is growing, especially with new types of abuse, so technological facilitated abuse, people using things like cameras to check where you're going, economic abuse, it's more complicated, we need more time, and it just, we're not getting enough funds from the government, and so it's really important that we have people like Rio supporting us and so many people who are taking part in this challenge as well.
There's often a lot of guilt for people who are left behind in this situation. Could I have done this? Should I have said that? Just briefly, what should we all be looking out for, and then what should we do?
Like I said, the stats are so high, so it's 1 in 4 women in their lifetime. It's about being there for your friends without any judgment, knowing that they can talk to you if they need, pointing to resources like Refuge. We have so much information on our website. We've got the National Domestic Abuse Helpline, and that runs 24/7. It's completely free and confidential, so you can advise people to call that for support. If a friend is worried, they can also call that number for support to get information. We have a live chat service that people can come to. We have refuges. We have community-based services. We've got so much. So head to our website, and all the information is there.
That's really helpful stuff. And Rio, I have to ask, how is training going?
I ran the London Marathon for Refuge this year, which is phenomenal. It was the most surreal day, and since then I've kept up with my running. So as soon as I received the email from Nikita and the team to say let's do it, I was instantly in.
I mean, we've only got 10 seconds left, but what would you like Hayley's legacy to be?
Just to keep going, you know, the point of this was to always just keep her name out there and keep continuing to support women.
You're doing it in the most wonderful of ways. Thank you both so much for coming in, and thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
And just to say, the government is spending £53 million over the next 4 years on an intervention programme which it says can help domestic violence perpetrators change their lives and move away from abuse. Of course, if you've been affected by what we've been talking about, do head to our website. There are contacts for help and support. Now, still to come on the programme, after a cold and snowy start for many of us, Sally is here with the forecast for the days ahead. But first, the ongoing toll of London's temporary housing crisis. Lindsay Smith has had 6 different flats in 7 years and has now ended up living in yet another mouldy home, all while recovering from breast cancer treatments. To make matters worse, she's far from family and friends in Barnet. Antoine Allen's been hearing Lindsay's story.
As a mum, the most fundamental thing is to put a roof over your child's head and provide them with a happy, comfort home, and I couldn't do that for my babies.
This mother simply wants to stop moving her children from home to home. This is the 7th temporary flat Lindsay has lived in. The single mother has taken pictures of the poor conditions of all of the homes Barnet Council have moved her into.
Every single property has been black mould ridden through and through, and it's not just the average bit of black mould you get around the window in the UK. It's like coming through the floors, coming through the walls.
Lindsay and her children have gone on an unwanted tour of London's temporary housing crisis.
A hostel in Enfield, Colindale, Burnt Oak, Enfield again, Ilford, Willesden, Hendon, and Broxbourne.
Each place she's moved into had maintenance issues. The conditions go beyond mould.
You see the cracks in the floor, it all grows green fungi.
This one property had an infestation of ants. Each move impacting her children's health.
I wouldn't even put a dog in them conditions. He was getting rashes, he was pooing himself, wetting himself because he was so scared.
Lindsay's battle for stability began when she became pregnant with her first child. She asked Barnet Council for help. She said she was pushed into accepting a temporary place outside the borough, not knowing it would break Barnet's 5-year residency rule for future social housing. Since then, she's been struggling to get a permanent place for her family.
What is the council housing there for? What is social housing there for? What is a secure tenancy there for? Is it not there for people like me that have got really bad health, that have been moved 7 times in 6 years?
Lindsay has been trying to gain a home for her children whilst battling breast cancer.
So it comes from the walls.
Her current temporary accommodation has had to be treated for mould, even where her children sleep. Barnet Council told ITV News, "We will continue to work with Miss Smith and her landlord to ensure that her accommodation remains safe and suitable for her. We understand Miss Smith's frustrations, but due to unprecedented increases in homeless applications, there is limited social housing available in Barnet, and temporary accommodation, unfortunately, may be provided outside the borough." Like many families from the capital, Lindsay will continue being on an ever-increasing waiting list for a permanent home. Anton Allen, ITV News.
Now, King Charles visited Fortnum and Mason in Piccadilly earlier to mark the 2nd anniversary of the Coronation Food Project. The project redistributes food going to waste and has so far delivered almost 5,000 tonnes to communities in need. The King thanked those involved but says there is more to do. Now, at what age is too late to change careers and maybe become a stand-up comedian? My guest tonight would say never. Callie Beaton was a high-flying TV exec in charge of brands like MTV and Nickelodeon and responsible for shows like South Park and SpongeBob SquarePants. But at the age of 45 and after some advice from the late great Joan Rivers, no less, she swapped it all for this. Callie, what did Joan Rivers say to you?
Well, what she said to me was, I'd introduced her at quite a few industry events, and she said to me, you should ever go at stand-up. What you do is a bit like warm-up for me. And I said, look, I'm a 45-year-old single mum. I've got 2 kids. One of my children has additional needs, and I'm in a boardroom every day. I think it's fair to say that ship has sailed. And she looked me square in the eye, and she said, Callie, I'm 81. You're in the thick of it. Oh. And 2 weeks after that conversation, she very unexpectedly died from complications to surgery, as you'll remember. And then 2 weeks after that, I did my first ever stand-up gig. So, and I joke on stage that that's how tough it is for older women in comedy. We have a one in, one out policy. So I started, and obviously I started on the open mic circuit at 45, and it took me a few years to get to the point where I could leave my job.
How much courage did it take? Because of course, look, we've seen you there live at the Apollo. You've done all sorts of things. You're incredibly
with stand-up, and it's quite a good adage for life. You can't avoid failure as a stand-up, and you never learn as much from a good gig as you do from a bad gig. And when you realise that what audiences love is you working live with things not going very well, that's just such a relief. And you think, oh, right, yeah, people like the mess.
Yes.
People come out for the evening.
They sure do.
They don't want to come and see someone who's all buttoned up and life's great. They want to know what's going on under the surface. And when you can, I needed to learn to just loosen up. I was a polished corporate speaker, and what I needed to learn to do was be much more authentic and just turn up. And if you actually turn up and work live in the room, that will get you far further than the best written jokes in the world.
What a wonderful lesson for life, like you say.
I think it is, yeah.
You're on tour at the moment, aren't you? And it goes right through until, I think, next summer. Just tell
longer
us...
Than that.
Longer
We're
than
about
that.
to extend into next autumn. So I think it's the tour that never ends.
Wow.
The tour might live longer than me. So yes, I started the tour when I was 56 and I'll be ending it probably when I'm 60 at this rate.
Amazing.
So we've been all over the place. And at the moment, I keep saying to my tour promoter, I live in London. It'd be quite nice to do a London date. So we've got one London date out of about 75 dates.
Well, we're going to need to catch
one that I can just turn up to by tube, which would be very nice.
Just tell us a little bit about it, because you deal with some quite serious issues, but in a very funny way.
I do. So the book I wrote this year was a manifesto for women. So it's looking at how you can keep cool when you are feeling like a hot mess, and that doesn't just refer to menopause.
And how do you do that, by the way, Callie?
Well, are you asking for a friend?
Yeah, asking for a friend.
Well, it is about embracing the mess. So my show is all about me debunking the myths of the kind of have-it-all woman and everything's got to be great, and thinking about all that stops any of us doing what we might be able to do in life is a fear that we might fail. And if we take it as a given that we will on many occasions and still go and do things with all the mess and all the stuff that goes on, I think women can be at their most messy and their most powerful in midlife, and those two things can coexist. So that's what the show is, celebration of womanhood.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that, Callie. Thank you so much and good luck.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. From Callie to Sally. Sally's here.
I was listening very hard to that.
Quite a lot to learn there. You've been uncovering some lovely royal romances in Charing Cross, haven't you?
Yes, we've got a royal romance for you. We've got why is Charing Cross Charing Cross? Why is there pretty much London's version of the Bayeux Tapestry on the Northern Line? It can only be hidden London with the brilliant historian Alice Loxton. She's got about 3 million followers on socials. Here is her hidden bit of London.
In this corner of London, look up, look down, and even look around for a little bit of love. Our tour guide today is historian, author and broadcaster Alice Loxton.
My favourite hidden bit of London is definitely Charing Cross, because though you might not realise, there is layer upon layer of incredible hidden history to explore.
We start our tour at this traffic island by Trafalgar Square, which is key to how the area got its name.
So Charing Cross comes from the word charing. It's this old English word which means bend in the river, so bend in the River Thames. And then the cross, which actually refers to this enormous monument which once stood on this location, the Eleanor Cross. And this was created in the 1290s to commemorate this formidable medieval queen, Eleanor of Castile.
Today, only a plaque remains of the cross and instead a statue of Charles I. We'll come back to Eleanor and her love story in a moment, but first, did you know this?
Today, it is where all measurements to London are made. So if you search in Google Maps today, take me to London, it will take you to that very spot. Of course, and I know, that's why I love it, it's very understated.
We then head up to Charing Cross Station, where an enormous replica of the Eleanor Cross sits in the forecourt. Queen Eleanor herself was married to King Edward I.
Tell me the story of Eleanor and her medieval love story.
Yeah, well, she's a wonderful character, and she died in this village outside Lincoln. And Edward was absolutely devastated because, unusually for the medieval period, this was a marriage of true, dedicated love. And when she died, they had to carry her body from Lincoln down to London. And afterwards, Edward commemorated that journey by building 12 stone monuments, the Eleanor Crosses, the final one, which was Charing Cross.
Alice loves the story so much, she's written a book about taking the same journey as Queen Eleanor. In it, she takes a detour to the underground at Charing Cross, so we head there too, to the Northern Line, where an incredible mural by David Gentleman tells the story of how masons actually built the Eleanor Cross 700 years ago.
It's so amazing, isn't it?
I know,
endless.
the size of it's really, really surprising, I think. And what's so interesting is people always say to me, oh, I've walked past that every day for the last 30 years, you know, on my commute. And I've never really quite clocked. Oh, look, and here we have Eleanor, the statue, swinging into position.
Amazing.
So all action here, this end.
We finish our journey at Westminster Abbey, where Queen Eleanor was laid to rest.
700 years later, she is still a huge part of London.
For me, it's remarkable that she's been forgotten, so I'm a kind of, you know, putting her back on the map, if you like.
Alice, if you had to sum up Charing Cross in one word, what would it be?
Well, I'd definitely say romantic. It's a real place of romance, but if I can have another one, I'd say the word thrilling, because here you see history come to life.
That is absolutely fascinating. I had no idea.
I know, neither did I. And there's another Eleanor Cross, Waltham Cross in London. So there you go, see that in a different light now. Now we must talk weather because we had snow this morning, parts of London, the home counties. We've got some pictures here of Amersham. It was all coming down, bucketing down during the school run. The kids having a great time there. Yeah, getting a little bit wet, I think, outside. I certainly got soaked. But the cold snap has felt so cold, and I don't know if you've had the same, because we've not been used to it.
Yeah.
And there's two things that point to that. Firstly, 8 of the last 11 months in Greater London have been above average.
Right.
And secondly, take a look at this chart. So this shows the temperature compared to average for November in Greater London. And the orange section shows that for the first half of the month, we've been quite considerably above average, sometimes about 6 degrees. And then in the last few days, you can see we've really dropped off, and now our temperatures are considerably below average. So it's all over the place, but for now, it stays chilly. Here we go.
Come rain or shine, Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
Hello again and a very good evening to you. So Twickenham also had its first snow shower of the season. It's very cold out there tonight and into tomorrow. A frosty start, mostly dry, and for Friday looking pretty decent, still cold. Into the weekend, it gets a little more unsettled, and there's another change into the weekend as well. It's the temperature. So really cold Arctic air coming down at the moment, but as we head into Saturday and Sunday, the temperatures just come up a little bit. Still though, possibly staying below average, but not quite as chilly as it is at the moment. So here we go with the detail. You see tonight we should avoid these showers off to the north and east, and that frost spreads its way eastwards as that cloud clears. By the end of the night, a real frozen scene outside, so do watch out for that tomorrow morning, and can't rule out a little bit of ice here or there either. We're down to below freezing in the towns and cities, so even colder in the countryside. So yes, a little bit on the chilly side tomorrow, but perhaps you might get some nice sunshine to kick things off. There is some cloud around, particularly the further east you go, and moving west as the day goes on, but the best of any brightness to the west. Those temperatures really chilly, highs of just 3 to 5 degrees. It might even just feel a little bit colder tomorrow than today, although the wind's not quite as gusty. So let's take you into the evening, and it starts off dry, but as the night goes on, we could well clip some of these showers, and again, some of them might be wintry as they come through overnight, but Friday itself isn't looking too bad. Another cold start, an even colder one Friday night into Saturday, and then as I mentioned, a slightly unsettled weekend. That's it. Cheerio.
Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
And that's it from us. The evening news is next with Lucrezia. Have a lovely evening. Stay warm. Bye-bye.